we're going to get into a very interesting discussion with Jeffrey Rose, who is an extraordinary hypnotist and has been doing this for quite some time, 25 years, and we're going to bring him on. Let's bring on Jeffrey Rose to talk about hypnotism. Oh my God, I'm completely in your power. Whatever you say, I'll do.
Yes. So let me tell you what hypnosis is first. Okay?
Yes, give us a definition, because you know what? We hear the word,
yes,
but I don't think people really know what it means.
Well, it's simply a narrowness of attention and a focus and an absorption in one thing where you're not distracted. And in this state, we're more suggestible. So our subconscious mind is open to suggestions for new attitudes, new beliefs about food, about pharmaceuticals, about our political candidates, about ourselves. You could also think of hypnosis as the power that words and ideas have, and we surround those words and ideas with a complete attention. A good example of that, when we go into a movie theater. At the beginning, we're very conscious, which is an awareness of the present, and the subconscious mind's resting. We're just very, being aware we're in the theater. And the film starts and you see an actor, okay? And when you first see that actor, you're thinking about when you saw that actor in another film. You think, oh, I like that actor, or that actor's cute, or she's hot, or whatever it is. You're distracted. Film continues. You see like an Empire State Building in the background. You might think, what a beautiful Art Deco building. I see this in New York all the time. Thank God that wasn't blown up. But as the film continues, you start getting more and more into the film, and your subconscious starts getting involved, and your conscious starts to rest. And you're in trance, and you're no longer analyzing things, the actors, the character, and you're just, getting all the feeling and emotion, and you're really moved by that film.
You know what's interesting? I saw an episode, I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or something, but they talked about subliminal advertising, where they would flash, for example, a food, like a Coca-Cola. You wouldn't even visually see it, but it's there. It's like for a millisecond throughout an ad. Are they allowed to do that?
They do it, and if you don't know it, if you don't know on a conscious level, then you can't complain. And you get this in product placement all the time. You think when we're seeing movies with a Coca-Cola there, or some other beverage, or some other food product that we recognize all the time, that it's not having an effect? Of course it does. We also get from Coke and Pepsi, they're spending $1.5 billion to hypnotize us through their commercials nonstop. They're selling feelings. You're old enough to remember those early 70s Coca-Cola commercials where they like to teach the world to sing with perfect harmony. And it's just so beautiful and uplifting, and it's outside, and it's a great folky music,
I like
and
to
just
teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. Yep. I remember.
I would join you there, but I can't sing. And
no, man, don't ruin the show, please.
No, I won't, I promise. But that's powerful. That's why they run those ads.
No. If I go to you and say, look, I want you to hypnotize me. I always hear the story that you can't be hypnotized if you don't want to be. Is that true?
Sure, but you have to want to make a change. So let's just say, for example, you were overweight, okay? You're going to be emailed first our weight loss program materials, reading about hypnosis for weight loss, to be lengthy intake forms, learning about what you eat, when you eat, why do you eat, how much are you eating, about your exercise, for example, and most importantly, your motivation for losing weight. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when I gather all that information, I have a conversation about hypnosis. I learn all about, the why of everything. In hypnosis, at least for weight loss, I'm helping people to change their attitudes and beliefs about food and exercise. So you're not eating for emotional reasons. You're getting fuller on smaller portions. You're not craving processed foods, and you're motivated to be exercising regularly. But having said that, someone has to come in wanting to change. And I make it easier to do that on a subconscious level by inspiring them.
Now let's apply that to the presidential election. Wanting to change.
Yeah.
I've been reading all these things, and you see some of these Trump supporters, and they go up and they interview them, and they confront them with Trump is lying, and yet they say, so now that you know the truth, will you vote for Trump? Oh yes. I says, it doesn't bother you that he lied to you? Oh no. I mean, is there a form of hypnotism that these Trump supporters, they don't care about what the truth is, that they just vote for him blindly, that they just want him to be president blindly? And I can easily say that about the other side, but let's start with Trump first, since he's the current president.
Sure. Well, people like the personality. Remember, for a good part of people that were not living in New York City when Donald Trump was reigning as this, great real estate baron, which we know in reality he's got funded and kept getting funded.
Did you say he's a robber baron? What was that?
Real estate baron. Okay, we'll call it. Okay, we know what Donald Trump was, but for the rest of the country, they know him as that show The Apprentice, where he's sitting on a desk that's elevated. He's already looking like an authoritarian. He's looking like a leader, and he's like a king, and he's telling you, you're fired, you're fired. So people like that powerful image, even like with religion doing the same thing. And your priest looking down and telling you and, lecturing you. So I think that's a powerful thing that he has going for him too. He's got that personality. He says whatever he wants, even though a lot of
speaking of saying what he wants, he said, Donald Trump said, and is this a form of hypnotism? He says, I can go into the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody dead in the middle of the street and I can get away with it. Are we that hypnotized? Maybe not you and me specifically, but is the country, a segment of the country, that hypnotized that they would just let him continue to get away with all these lies? I mean, in a way, with what we've seen in the last 4 years, I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah. No, sadly, people want to stick to their own beliefs and their own party line. It's very hard to pry those people away. If people are independent thinkers and they're not Democrat, they're not Republican, they could be swayed. So they have their own algorithm of why they would vote for somebody. So although
so what are the tricks that you've seen that political part? Give the viewers like a little insight as to what to look for that they're not seeing, consciously.
Well, he's employing a lot of popular techniques that hypnotists use, pacing and leading, anchoring and repetition, so that, make America great again over and over again. And then he would have you say that, so when people are nodding and they're cheering and there's emotion attached to it, they're going to be very active behind. It's very hard to pry those people and say, yeah, but he did this. They're just going to make excuses. And
so when Donald Trump says things like crooked Hillary or nasty Kamala, are these done as sort of a form of hypnotism?
Yeah, well, it's name calling and anchoring. So that's a very powerful thing to give a word like that. So when you use that technique, you're aligning that behavior and thoughts to that individual. So once you say nasty, okay, it's very hard to break away from that. He said, Lion Ted Cruz in the primaries in 2016, Sleepy Joe, okay.
Now it's Bumbling Joe,
whatever it is. And that's powerful, those nicknames, so he's, unfortunately, he's a bully, okay? But if you like what he's about, if you like his politics, you're going to look the other way and you're going to keep making excuses for him. And it's really sad.
Do you think with what's happening, does the pandemic shift our sentiments? Does this pandemic shift the way we will process this coming election in the way we're going to look at him and look at the incumbent? I find it extraordinary that the Democratic Party would pick a vulnerable candidate like Joe Biden and even pick someone like Kamala Harris, who has, there are better choices that will give them a more surefire chance of overtaking the Oval Office. And I find it very strange that certain choices are being made. And I wonder if it's falling into that whole thing about the hypnotic effects of those choices. What's your take on all that?
I think Joe Biden has the name recognition. He's been there. He was there for 8 years under Obama. And if you're a Democrat, you liked Obama, you're happy with the way the country was going in that direction, you're not happy now, then why not support Joe Biden?
So you think that by getting Kamala Harris, it kind of, because he picks a person of color, that it kind of says to the public, if you loved Obama and you're going to love this because it's sort of the same alignment of white and person of color? I mean, I just wonder, what is the thought process that goes into this?
Well, I think it's a safe pick. It's a very safe pick to pick an African American and a woman. You're balancing out the ticket, at a time when that's important, especially with the riots and post George Floyd. Obviously, it's just a good, smart pick to pick someone like her, and she's smart. She's a talented,
but she has a very tenuous, law enforcement record, in California. There are people that thought she was much too harsh and much too, forceful in the way that she ran the department when she was in California. But then, the answer I get to that is, well, what do you want? Do you want more Trump, or do you want, change? It doesn't even seem to be about the record of the politician. It's about, do you like what you have now? Or, are you open to change? And it always seems to be the word that it gets bandied about at every presidential election the last 20 years that I can remember. Change, because things are bad. But, as much as acerbic as Trump can be, he has done some good things. He just doesn't allow us to embrace those things, because he's causing so much tumultuousness with everything that comes out of his mouth.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, well, the voter's going to vote for feeling. So it's very hard for an incumbent to win re-election if the economy is bad. And actually, the economy was very strong before, not right now. So if you can use that as an indicator to look at history, his chances are very low to begin with. He does have some things on the side. Right. I think he's doing the actual, talk about hypnotic, I think he's doing the RNC convention from the White House, which shouldn't be allowed. There should be no, political activity there. That should be.
But then again, he shouldn't be allowed to benefit from the presidency. He hasn't had to adjust one thing in his business, and he's making deals. I guarantee it, making deals all over the world for when he leaves that office.
I have no doubt. Those people that like him, but it looks very good for the nation when there's a convention going on and you see the man who's running for office right there in the White House.
And there's no way to stop him from doing that.
Well, if they had the convention, if it wasn't for COVID, they would be in North Carolina or Florida, and they'd be doing it the normal way, and that's the way it should be. Or he could do it from one of his hotels or something.
No, do you notice something that I think is interesting? We're already in the middle of August, and I have not seen one presidential ad from either party on the networks. There is no advertising. You know how sometimes this is paid for by the committee for Donald Trump's reelection or for Joe Biden's reelection. None of that.
I wonder.
First of all, what's the change that you see happening? That there is it money? Is it they're saving that money for something else?
I don't know, but again, here in New York, where we're not a swing state, it's expected that this state's going to go Democrat. Why waste your money? It's just like if you're in Idaho, why would Biden want to advertise in Idaho? Why would Trump want to advertise in New York or any of them? So it's a given that this is going to go Democrat. It's the swing states. I'm sure Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Florida are getting bombarded with a lot of advertising. We just don't see it here.
Now, when you talk about hypnotism, I mean, I find it to be a phenomenon the way, I've seen extremism on both sides. I've talked to people who are Democrats, and the minute I say something that might align myself more on the Republican side, I'm called, people screaming at me, "You're not a patriot."
Right.
You're a Trumper.
Right.
I get called lots of names. Thank God, sticks and stones break my bones, and names will never hurt me. And I see an extremism on that side. And then there's the other side where, even during the election, if you did not align your viewpoint with somebody who was for Trump, they completely would drop you. There are family members who just stopped talking to us. I was just shocked. It reminded me of populism and the rise of the Third Reich. The only difference is, we have a difference of opinion, but we don't kill each other. But, but the basic theme of the whole thing is the same. If you take on a point of view that doesn't fit into the politics of the person you're talking to, it can be an unpleasant experience. Is there you think that they've been hypnotized? You think that they've been conditioned? How did that get like that?
Listen, political figures are always appealing to our imagination, and when they captivate us in their communication, employing any techniques they possibly can, it's very hard to pry away from that. It's like a cult following. And if you see people protesting, where they're getting angry and they're showing their emotions nonstop, and they're in kinship with their community, they're not going anywhere. There's going to be a base in the Democratic Party. There's going to be a base in the Republican Party, and it's very hard to even have any kind of rational conversations if you're too far to the left or you're too far to the right. It ain't going to change. Again, it's only the middle ground that could be swayed, and that's who you're really appealing to. That's who you need to hypnotize, actually, in an election, is those people, in the middle, and let them feel that you're the one that's going to be the best president for them for the next 4 years and possibly 8 years.
So, I mean, you can look at the economy. I mean, the classic example of hypnotism with a political leader in a bad economy was Adolf Hitler. A lot of people said that the entire nation of Germany was at its knees. Millions of people were starving, and he hypnotized them into his crazy rhetoric that ended up, killing 13 million people. Does a lot of that basic, hypnotism apply now, that the worse that things are, the more we're going to want to believe somebody? But this is the thing, like even in this pandemic, we turn to Dr. Fauci and we're looking for guidance, and we're not getting any from our school system, from this health epidemic, from the presidential politics. Nobody is guiding us. We have no heroes.
Now, use Hitler as a great example of that. So people are really desperate. It was a dire situation right there. And he's actually, using a scapegoat, blame the Jews, for example, okay? And you could start getting people aligned with your way of thinking, and you do little things, and then you move them a little bit more, a little bit more. If you were to say to the German people, do you think it's a good idea to slaughter 6 million Jews, in concentration camps, and you brought that to their attention in 36 through, let's say, 41, 42, 43, they would say, of course not. Okay, but they just got so in deep. You're hypnotizing the Hitler youth early on with chanting. So they're part of a mass boys club, singing songs, dressing together. It's empowering them to make them feel good about themselves, because they don't have a good self-esteem. They have a low self-esteem.
Why is it that society always needs to feel good about itself? Why is it that we have that need? It's almost like needing a mama's nipple when you're born. You need to suck on something to feel better. It's terrible, but it's like this thing keeps popping up, this need to make ourselves feel good about ourselves, especially when it comes to the rest of the world.
Well, it's healthy to want to have a good self-esteem, but if you have a low self-esteem, then you want to look and feel better. And one way of doing that is to demonize other groups. So it could be a minority, it could be the Jews, it could be the Mexicans, whatever it is. So, or women for that matter. So if you're holding them as less than, and they're lower than you, then you feel good. I'm a strong white male, for example. Okay. So
well, we just had AJ Benz on a few weeks ago, who basically, was sort of approached by Harvey Weinstein. And Harvey Weinstein, he gets the credit for starting the Me Too movement, which I just find fascinating, that all these years, the casting couch in Hollywood was considered taboo, that it was okay, and nobody questioned it. And suddenly Harvey Weinstein gets accused of rape and manipulating all these women, and suddenly it becomes an issue. Then Ronan Farrow writes a breakthrough story about it, who also comes from a family that's not exactly pristine in that department. Why now? Why now are we suddenly, having ethics, suddenly having a conscience? Is this a form of hypnotism, or did we break the spell?
I think times, they are changing. So we had the women's lib movement in the late 60s and 70s, and women have come a long way. So
this is very different. This is really different.
But they're in different culture. They're decision makers. They're in the boardrooms. They're on the board of directors of these companies. Okay, so they're not going to let these things go anymore. Why should they? They didn't like it before, but they were.
But what is it in our society that's making it really stick this time?
I don't know. I have to think about that. I mean, men are women. I mean, men are men.
Women. Yeah. Boys will be girls, and girls will be boys. Yeah. It's a mixed up world.
I like that. I'm going to write that down.
That's the kinks, baby. The kinks. Come on. You're my age.
I know. But men are men. So we've behaved this way for a long time, and we've gotten away with it. Okay, we're not that sensitive.
So you really think it's that bad? We just got away with it all this time, and that's the reason why suddenly we're not getting away with it anymore.
Yeah, I think so. And then, again, women have more, women are being more assertive. Women are in the job place. Women are decision makers. Women are in the boardrooms. Okay,
I
so
know. I've never treated I've never looked at anybody by their ethnicity, their color,
yeah.
their sex. I've always listened to somebody and respected them by what's come out of their mouth and how they behave in that way. But I don't understand it. For me, I find traveling around the world, because I've done a lot of traveling, is an emancipator, because it teaches you about our differences, and I celebrate those differences. I think it's our differences that we have so much to learn from one another. How can you use that against somebody when there's so much to embrace, And it's just a sad commentary right now that maybe now we'll be able to move forward, but I don't know. We seem to be dictated so much by the politics of our everyday life, and it seems to get in the way of actually accomplishing humanitarian actions and needs. So I don't know about that. I hope it changes, but we won't know until November, and even after that, I have a feeling that there's going to be if Trump doesn't win, I think we're going to be dealing with this through January 20th. So, and what about Hollywood now? You think this pandemic and these, there's a lot of stuff that I think people are just not educated, like Black Lives Matter. I understand. Look, I'm a Jew. You're a Jew. I could easily say, look, I appreciate Black Lives Matter, but if I really wanted to get into it, I could say Jews' lives matter for the same basic reasons. And then there's things about what they do that aren't exactly wholesome and really following the narrative that they're trying to sell us. So where's the reality begin?
Well, the Black Lives Matter, just that name, the words we use are key. Really what it should be saying is Black Lives Matter also. Hey, we also matter too. Okay. But it doesn't say that. It's implied. But people that are angry at African Americans or feeling like they're getting too assertive, they're getting their way too much, they have to say all lives matter, which is it's ridiculous. Okay. Now, yes, the Black Lives Matter has been infiltrated by a lot of bad elements. We know that, whether they're looting, stealing, some crazy rioting, whether there's Marxist elements within that, of course, because it's like any group, you can't control who's joining you, who's pushing and taking action. But they started off wanting to just say, "Hey, we matter too. Let's help us with our rights and let's treat us better."
And what about Hollywood? You think it's going to change the way films are made, or the topics that we see, how women are portrayed in movies, how the relationship between men and women in movies? You think that's going to change now, or will it be more of the same?
I think it's been happening for a while. I mean, I don't know how much better it's going to get, but African Americans have greater roles, and they're not just taking what would be the black role, like the Help, for example. They're the lead role in a lot of films, which is wonderful. And women, there's a lot more women directors out there, so they're going to cast women and women writers. So they're doing stories that are more, female centric films. So I think we're getting it.
Well, look, we have a long way to go, but I definitely agree that we are definitely going through a major change in our society, and hopefully we will improve. Jeffrey Rose, nutritionist extraordinaire. He's incredible. You need to find out more about Jeffrey. Jeffrey, tell us the website people can go to find you.
Okay, so my online health food store is nutritionandhealthylifestyles.com. And I've got a couple hypnosis websites, but there's ahcenter.com and advancedhypnosisnyc.com.
So they can reach you if they want to reach you to hire you. They can go to one of those websites and they can do all that.
Right. And I'm doing, through COVID, a lot more remote sessions, more Skype and FaceTime and Zoom than I've ever done with people from all over America and Australia, New Zealand and England now, any English-speaking country, because that's the language I could speak. And, so I'm able to help people and have impact without having to go into my office in New York City all the time.
Jeffrey Rose, great to have you on the show. The Alarmist, Conspiracy Theories, and Coffee. Another episode comes to a close with the great Jeffrey Rose. I'm hypnotized already. I'll be saying your name under my breath when I go to bed. Jeffrey Rose. Thank you, man, for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Peace.